What's up, you guys? I'm Dan. This is Frugal Not Cheap, and today we're talking about saving money on furniture. Now, in my first video, we talked about selling used cell phones on Swappa and Facebook Marketplace. But long before Swap and Facebook Marketplace, there was Craigslist. Now, of course, when you think of Craigslist, you might think of some sketchy activities or some sketchy types of people. There's certainly some of that that used to be going on. I think they've cleaned up their act a little bit in recent times. But in any case, when I moved into my first real apartment coming out of college with my girlfriend at the time, we got all of our furniture used off of Craigslist. And we actually had a great experience. We picked up a great bed that had been very lightly used and even had one of those covers on it that kept everything pristine. We picked up some coffee tables and a computer desk for myself, and at the time the sort of birch wood and sort of silver or gray metal was really in fashion at the time, so it was kind of nice. We were able to coordinate some items. Got a great corner computer desk made of glass for my girlfriend, and ended up having, I think, a pretty well furnished apartment for a very low cost. Though the one thing that we didn't do very well, we got some used sofas that were very, very cheap, but the fabric wasn't in great shape, and we tried using those sofa covers, and I cannot recommend those. They were terrible. We tried to staple them so they would stay in place, and it wasn't very good. But in any case, I had generally a great experience getting the furniture, and there are a few major benefits. First, of course, we paid a lot less than we would have if we were buying new furniture, right? So that was great. Second, we reduced waste by giving these pieces of furniture a new home, instead of having them go to the landfill. So that was good as well. Third, and this is the big one, and the reason for the title for the video, is that when we moved, we sold all the stuff, of course, on Craigslist. Ended up selling it for about just as much as we paid for it in the first place. So it was essentially free, and we got to have this furniture for about 2 years. So that was great. And no, I don't remember any weird people or bad experiences on Craigslist. In general, my experiences were really, really good. So I was moving from the south up to the northeast, and so shipping everything would have actually been really expensive. And so that's another reason why we ended up selling everything. And it just so happened we were able to sell it for what we bought it for, which is amazing to me still. Shipping it also would have been a big hassle, having to get all this stuff here or hire some movers, which would have been an even greater expense. Forget that. So it really worked out well to sell all these things instead of shipping them. Now, when I moved up here, I wasn't quite as frugal when I moved into my first place. Instead of buying things secondhand, which looking back I wish I had, instead went to IKEA. I was trying to make things more convenient for myself. So I went down to IKEA and had them ship everything for me, which actually did work out really nice. That was convenient. But you can bet your butt that when I move out of this place, I will be putting everything up on Facebook Marketplace and selling it. In fact, I've already sold one piece that I got just to kind of fill up the room, but later on I realized it was pretty silly. I had a bookshelf that had, I think, 1 or 2 things on it, so I ended up selling that. Found a new home, and someone else is happy with it, and it ended up costing me a little bit less than it would have otherwise. Now, so far, we've talked about just buying and selling some big ticket items, like cell phones in my first video and furniture in this video. But there's a used market for really all kinds of stuff. And it doesn't have to be expensive either. So over the last, I don't know, since I moved up here to the Northeast, I've sold about $1,000 worth of stuff, as you can see here. So I thought that I was doing pretty well, but I found out just this morning that my aunt and her husband had sold nearly $5,000 worth of things that they had in their home that they weren't making use of. So I feel a bit like an amateur. It's pretty cool that they were able to do that. But at the same time, I'm pretty minimalist. A few things have come into my life because I brought fewer things in, and so I think I've done pretty well. So I've sold about $1,000 worth of goods so far, and some of these goods have been even as cheap as $10. In fact, my most recent transaction, which is a sale of a Google Nest Home Mini, was for $10. And this is a great way to help things find a new home rather than ending up in the bin or in the landfill. So I think that's really good. And the other thing is that by getting a little bit of money back as you sell it, then you're able to reduce your cost per use. Now, if you're going to sell things on Facebook Marketplace, here are a few tips. Well, basically things that I found to be true for me, and maybe they'll be helpful for you too. So first is to check out prospective buyers' Facebook pages. That's one of the great benefits of Facebook Marketplace over Craigslist, is you can check out who this is and try to look for any red flags. I don't know what they might be. You might just see something that kind of lets you know, hey, this is not probably a good idea. This person doesn't seem all that trustworthy. Next is to meet in public. So I've met a couple of buyers in a parking lot, but generally, and maybe this has to do with the fact that I mail, but I feel pretty comfortable having buyers come to my home. So most of the time that's what I do. It's less hassle, and I haven't had any problems so far. Things have gone really well. One of the things that's helped is I'd say only accept digital payments or cash. Certainly checks are no good, and I wouldn't accept partial payments either. The only time I took a chance on this kid and I accepted a partial payment for some computer parts, that was the only time that I didn't end up getting paid in full. So I won't be doing that again. But hey, it's all right. And that brings me to my next point, which is that the more people try to bargain or ask a ton of questions, generally you know that they're going to be more of a pain. So the best transactions, and the ones that I would focus on if I were you, are the ones where they don't try to negotiate at all. They just immediately say, hey, is this available? When could I pick it up? And you arrange to buy that way. In fact, this last item I sold, that Google Nest Home Mini, was one of those where they asked, hey, is this available? I said yes, and they immediately sent the money through PayPal using the Facebook Marketplace interface. So sale was completed right there. I didn't have to do anything, and a couple of days later they came to pick it up. So that was great. Of course, Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist and things like that aren't your only options when it comes to your used items, things that aren't providing value in your life anymore. There are lots of options. For instance, you might ask, why not give things away? Absolutely, I've done that. Oftentimes I'll ask my friends if they could make use of this or that item before I go to donate it or sell it, and it'll end up enriching their life, and it's something that I didn't need anymore, so I think that works out great. There are also, of course, the classics such as thrift stores, things like the Salvation Army or Goodwill or what have you. I've donated many items to these places over the years. Generally more things like clothing or kitchen items, pots, pans, plates, glasses, things that I don't need anymore. And then clothing, of course, things that are still in good shape you want to donate. Nothing with holes or anything that no one else is going to want to use. Socks and underwear, no, of course. But lightly used clothing that's in good shape, definitely a go for that. But of course, before any of these things, I would start with repairing. So in our last video, we talked about sharpening knives. These are knives that were dull and really not any use for us anymore, so that was a great way to get more life out of them. But you can also do that with furniture. A simple repaint or even a sanding, restaining and varnishing could allow you to keep a piece of furniture and maybe even enjoy it more once you put labor into creating something beautiful. So repairing or refinishing is a great way to go, and then of course you have gifting, donating, and reselling as your other options, with throwing things away being the last option. With that, I hope you liked today's video. Hit the like button if you did. Do you have any tips to share with us? Share them in the comments below. Want to see more videos on saving money, frugality, financial independence, and travel? Hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so YouTube will let you know when a new video has been posted. And see you all in the next video.